Thanks for tuning in to Up to Speed on CBC Radio 1. It's just 1 hour, but daylight savings time can really pack a punch if you're not prepared. From disrupted sleep schedules to increased levels of depression, the change can affect your body and mind. This Sunday, we'll all spring forward by an hour, and Dr. Maggie Penfold joins us now to share some tips for adjusting to daylight savings time. She's a clinical psychologist with Wolseley Wellness. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chloe. Thanks for having me.
Okay, first, I need to ask you about our show director Dylan Longhurst's strategy of caffeine. Is that something you would
Oh,
recommend?
oh, Dylan, I hate to burst your bubble, but actually having extra caffeine will work against your goal of adjusting to the time change.
Interesting.
And the reason for that is caffeine, the effects of it will linger in your system well after you've consumed it. So even if you're making a point of consuming it in the morning, it exerts an effect on different neurochemicals that regulate our sleep and wakefulness, even many hours after we've taken that last cup of coffee.
Interesting. All right. Well, Dylan's looking at me through the glass, and I think he's heard what you have to say. So thank you, um, Dr. Penfold. What would be another major tip for adjusting to the time change?
Yeah, so another major tip would be for people who have a regular sleep cycle and, tend to maintain it throughout the week and into the weekend, just to ease the transition for yourself, you might want to see if you can get up 30 minutes earlier tomorrow just to get that going in the direction that you want it to go as far as adjusting. For those people who like to sleep in on the weekends, I'm going to guess there's a lot of you out there who maybe like to do it by more than an hour. I would say the challenge for you would be tomorrow morning, Saturday, see if you can already get yourself up an hour earlier. I know it's probably a hard sell. Um, but yeah, our rise time is really one of the things that really has the biggest impact on the regularity of our sleep. And so in this case, we're trying to get, regular again on a new schedule.
Should people
And
be
so
going? Should people be going to bed earlier as well? Is that a strategy?
it is a common one that people might think they should do, but actually I would say only go to bed when you're sleepy. So if you happen to be sleepy an hour ahead of time and you're ready for bed, then go for it. But if you're not actually sleepy yet, the general advice that we would give would be to wait until you're sleepy. If you do try to go to bed before you're actually sleepy, it's more likely that you'll struggle to fall asleep. And that works against your general goal of getting to sleep.
What about families with young children? As I was having conversations here at CBC Manitoba, a few folks who have young kiddos were pretty worried heading into the weekend. Is there any ways they can help their kids adjust?
Yeah, so I think similar to some of the advice I would give for adults as well, really limiting light exposure before bedtime. So if possible, reducing exposure to light through screens, through the TV, through just the environment. If you've got lights on in your home in the evening, if you can turn them down or turn them off an hour before your desired bedtime, or even maybe a little bit earlier, just to see if you can ease this even a little bit more. Another piece of advice would be, if you have the option, to move your evening meal a little bit earlier by 30 to 60 minutes if you have that room to play with. And the reason for that is our eating habits are also tied to our sleep. The timing of our meals
Interesting.
actually affects the onset of sleep and the quality of sleep that we'll get.
Hmm. How important is sleep? We're talking a lot about sleep here. How important is getting a good rest when it comes to your mental health?
It is so important. It is right up there in terms of importance with the food that we eat, our need to move our bodies daily. We are supposed to be spending about a third of our lives sleeping, so we can't underestimate the importance of it.
Are there any health risks that can come with daylight savings time? Why is it something that we should be preparing for?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say there's any necessarily health risks in terms of anything long term or anything like that, but there are statistics that show that for people who, Well, generally in the statistics that, accidents, injuries, mistakes do tend to increase in the days following daylight saving time. And we know that not everybody is going to be affected by it in the same way. So some people might be more sensitive to the time change. And some people may just, yeah, okay, lost an hour, no big deal, and they're doing fine. But there will be some people who feel, kind of out of sorts, quite underslept, really tired, not quite with it the way that they might usually be.
What's one thing to keep in mind as people return to work on Monday after you were mentioning people are affected differently? What do we need to remember once we are gathering again on Monday?
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say is, you really never know for sure what's going on inside someone else's skin. So you want to be patient with yourself and other people. Like I said, everybody adjusts differently. They feel it differently. If you have the option, build in extra time to do things and just cut each other some slack where you can.
Thank you so much for bringing us all those tips. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. My pleasure.
Dr. Maggie Penfold is a clinical psychologist. You can find her full list of tips for adjusting to daylight savings time on her Instagram page at dr.maggie.penfold.wpg.